In the far reaches of Cairo's endless sprawl, a new kind of city rises. One stitched together with high walls, private guards, and winding streets that twist away from the chaos beyond the gates, away from the noise and the dull gray of the hulking cityscape.
I moved like 3 years ago. That was because we found it really hard to escape from the crowd, the traffic. It was all way too intense.
The picturesque scenery and serenity, while certainly attractive qualities, were far from the only reasons people wanted to move there.
Seen things done to other people. Their apartments got burned. They've been robbed. Murders. I've heard stories about close relatives that happened that kind of scared me.
Fear. It seems everyone knows somebody who's been robbed or attacked, and this proximity is uncomfortable.
Before I lived here, I lived in an apartment complex, and our neighbors on the same floor as us, the first floor, were out of the house around 7 p.m. and their house was robbed. The robbers came in through the window. We found out about it the next day through the news, and it was very scary to us, seeing as we were right next to them, and the robbers could have very easily opened our window.
This sentiment of this could have been me, could have been my family, could have been my reality, this breeds fear and a demand for safety. It doesn't matter how high the cost is, whether financial or something else.
I don't have many friends here, so I am always outside my compound. Is what I go home to, is where I sleep, but my day takes place outside.
Somewhere along the line, we stopped borrowing sugar from our neighbors. We stopped watching the kids play from the balcony. We stopped calling our next door neighbors when we saw something suspicious. Inside the gates, along with the many beautiful trees, something else quietly took root: isolation.
Human beings are wired to be part of groups, to form societies. So, of course, this is hardwired in our what we call limbic system, or the emotional center of the brain.
In Egypt's high income gated communities, 44% of residents say they have little or no relationship with their neighbors. 18% say they actively avoid them.
Nobody knows anybody, only like the group that all moms have.
So instead of forming strong, lasting bonds across diverse groups, now we became more drawn into smaller, exclusive social bubbles based on class, ideology, or online networks, leading to social fragmentation. So social fragmentation, it refers to the division of society into distinct groups that do not entirely interact or integrate with one another as they once might have.
Urban theorist Jane Jacobs saw cities as being organic, spontaneous, and untidy, a living organism, an ecosystem. And when you commodify cleanliness, control, and quiet, that becomes a problem.
It's more than just urban design or stacking buildings. It's about how we interact with one another. It's a chain of people coming together and interacting with one another and having needs. And cities form around these needs. For example, an area with more children would have more playgrounds. And I think gated communities don't target the community's needs. It's more about the individual needs. They cater to a shallow understanding of a person.
Cities should be convenient. It should be convenient to walk anywhere. It should be possible to survive without a car because cities are built around what the community needs, and what the community needs is always changing. So when you privatize the city, you don't allow it to grow. So it stagnates and feels dead.
Urban designers are capable of creating cities that cater to people's needs because their urban analysis skills have gotten really good. But now they prioritize profit over the comfort of people and their convenience. And that's the main problem with the gated communities, is that they don't evolve to cater to people's changing needs, you know? Like, they're fixed. Everything is built how it is, where it is, and you have to plan your life around that. Unwalkable cities are built in a way to make people less social. For example, in a place like Nasr City, you may walk to the kiosk to get a snack because it's accessible and because there are plenty of kiosks everywhere. But in a place like New Cairo, this is not the case anymore. Like, if you want to get a snack, you'll either have to drive or order for delivery.
Still, safety is paramount for many people, and if that means they have to sacrifice knowing their neighbor, that's fine. Because you don't need to borrow sugar if your gated community has a supermarket that delivers.
As much as I do want to have a sense of community, safety is way more important. I mean, not feeling safe has put me on like anxiety for so long that it's kind of weird feeling safe. I want to let that go.
Truth is, while people perceive themselves safer, there's no significant difference in crime rates between gated and non gated communities. A survey across 36 gated communities found that while 83% of residents felt safe, 58% had still experienced crimes like burglary. Why? Because residents, sealed off from each other, stopped noticing when something's wrong. Because when they chose the gates, they traded off the nosy neighbors who watched from the balcony to make sure nothing was amiss.
We can imagine that fragmentation can erode the sense of community and purpose, leading to decreased social trust and cooperation. When people don't feel connected to a broader community, they are less likely to engage in collective action or support public goods.
A report by the Australian Institute of Criminology found that the key to reducing crime was a physical environment which encouraged informal efforts of individual residents to watch one another's homes.
The difference between a good and a bad community goes back to walkability, because by walking outside, you're basically interacting with other people and inserting yourself in the environment. So you may wave to your neighbor or stop to pet a dog, and that makes you feel like you're no longer living in a bubble.
Still, it's dishonest to dismiss these claims, especially for women. Fear is stitched into every walk down a crowded street, every ride on a bus, every glance over the shoulder. Egypt ranks amongst the highest countries in the world for sexual harassment. Over 90% of Egyptian women say they face harassment on the streets, in markets, on public transportations, places that should belong to everyone, but often don't. Inside the gates, for some women, life feels different, because forsaking the culture also includes all the negative aspects of it, of which there's no shortage of. Inside the gates, women find a freedom they don't have otherwise. The freedom to walk alone at night, the freedom to wear what they choose, not what keeps them invisible, the freedom to breathe without bracing for impact.
And not just safety because of the stairs, the looks that you get, the feeling that you have when you're walking down the street. You feel more safe. I think as a woman, unfortunately, I often feel unsafe regardless of my environment. There are one too many incidents that occur that you see with your eyes. You see the uncalled for harassment. You see the media. You hear about things everywhere. I think as a woman, regardless of whether I'm in a gated community or I'm outside, I do always feel a sense of alertness. I feel like I have to take care of myself, and I think I would feel safer if there were more surveillance, if I knew that we were investing more in ensuring safety, like.
It's easy to assume that all these precautions will keep you safe. But picture this: security cameras stare down at you from every corner, barbed wire coils over high concrete fences, uniformed guards linger at every gate, checking and rechecking IDs, not unlike a prison. Urban scholar Nan Ellen calls it architecture of fear, where nearly every design choice is made in order to keep out a lawless, nameless thing. Cairo's gated communities, while promising safety, achieve it through design that inherently discourages social interaction. The walls and layouts limit chance encounters, control the chaos that makes life worth living, trapping you in a near perfect bubble that's just too perfect to ever be real, to ever produce an organic moment.